Last time around, we talked about garden space. Anything from your windowsill to your terrace is a good place to start your garden. But at the end of the day, it's a small space and has other limitations also. So it'll be a disaster if you don't design your garden before starting it. Garden design is space division and structural and functional arrangement of garden elements depending on natural resource availability to make your garden management smoother and garden functions efficient. At first, let's look at space identification. First, you need to identify the unused spaces in your house. It could be your terrace, your balcony, your porch, or even your windowsill. Look out for vertical spaces where creepers can grow. Also look out for all the empty spaces where you can build a trellis. Then check out how much sunlight these spaces get. Without sunlight, you literally cannot grow anything. Next thing to check is whether you need to get any waterproofing done. Most places like terraces and balcony are designed to withstand heavy rains. Hence, no special waterproofing will be needed here. But if you are growing, say, on a windowsill and it's a wooden one, you may consider making some arrangements so that your windowsill doesn't get wet. The other question that you need to answer is what structures need to be built to grow vertically or at multiple levels. While planning for structures, you'll have to also consider your finances. You need water for your plants to grow. Check for a close by water source in the identified place. Generally, there's a water tap around. But if it is not present, consider getting a water point installed. Then look to make some arrangement to use the wastewater from your home. You can also consider harvesting rainwater. Plants in containers need water almost on a daily basis. When you are away, your plants need to be watered. Do think about how you are going to handle this situation and incorporate it into your design if necessary. Some places are pretty windy, and in some season, wind also becomes stronger. You need to have an idea of it, and if needed, put some windbreakers as required. A simple bed cover tied to two poles can also serve as an efficient windbreaker. Now coming to the energy source of your garden, which is sunlight. Observe the sunlight profile and divide your garden into 4 areas. That is full sun, partial shade, and fully shaded areas. Remember that this profile will vary between summers and winters. Hence, take this fact into account while marking your light zones. Different plants have different sunlight requirements. While okra may need full sun, something like radish does perfectly fine in partial sun. Your plant placement should be such that there is a match between the sunlight need of the plant and the light zone where it is placed. Some places like where I live tends to become extremely hot in summers, and plants need some partial shade to do well. If you have such a problem, then you also need to design your garden keeping this in mind. Now let's look at the planting area. I find it easy and efficient to arrange plants in rows with walking area in between 2 rows of plants. The walking aisle is approximately 2 feet wide so that an average human being can move around freely. The width of the planting rows is about 4 feet. With this width, each part of the plant could be easily accessed from the walking aisle. Also, it doesn't make the planting rows too crowded. The planting rows must be in a north-south direction so that each plant has access to maximum sunlight. In case of a east-west alignment, a bigger plant may block sunlight to multiple smaller plants for a longer period of time. If the vertical space that you are using is isolated, then it can be aligned in any direction. But if you are planning to grow in multiple levels in your garden, then the vertical space should be aligned in east-west direction. Else, it will block sunlight to other plants on the ground. So in effect, your rows of plants on the ground are aligned in a north-south direction, while the vertical trellis is aligned in a east-west direction. Different parts of the garden will have different functions. Your planting area must be marked according to the sunlight it receives. Then you must designate storage space where you will be keeping your tools and materials. Choose a shaded place for composting and a partial shaded place as your working area. And last but not the least, you can always keep a sitting area where you can sit to look at your labor of love while sipping your favorite drink. In summary, the design considerations are space, water, wind and sunlight, planting arrangement, and structural and functional space division. With all this in mind, you must sit down and draw your design and take notes. Go over it multiple times till you reach a satisfactory design. But at the same time, have enough flexibility in your design. Remember, you are working with nature. You can't be rigid. A good degree of flexibility in your design will be of good use. Use your design as a guideline and not as a prescription. Your garden is a complete ecosystem of plants, pollinators, weeds, microorganisms, insects, etc. It is alive and has mind of its own. Sometimes you got to flow with it and sometimes you'll make course corrections. It is an act of balancing that we'll learn only with time. See you next session.